Hey everyone, my name is Chris Cordes, and today we're here to talk about Overland Journal's latest main gear review for hard storage cases. Now, storage cases have been around forever. They've been used since the earliest expeditions, and we rely on them to keep our gear out of the elements and away from prying eyes and potentially prying hands. Recently though, there's been a whole wealth of new manufacturers coming to the market, offering cases of all shapes, all sizes, and with an array of different features. So we wanted to bring them together, look at some of the best, and help figure out what case is going to best protect your equipment and which one will offer the best value for the money. So as far as testing procedures, we wanted to keep these tests simple and to the point to emulate daily use. So we had a couple different things that we wanted to see. First and foremost, how is the dust and waterproofing of each case? To test this, we used a low pressure hose so that we wouldn't be penetrating the seal with high pressure when we sprayed the case from different angles and orientations. We allowed water to pool on the seams when sideways, as well as on the back, to see if it would have any ingress. After that, the cases that passed and were fully waterproof were set aside, and secondary testing was commenced in an optimal orientation. So how you would expect to normally see a case in a vehicle. Upright, strapped down. We sprayed them from the sides and from the top, and then retested to see if there was any water ingress. For dust, we had two different evaluations. We had first on a trailer where we strapped all of these down on a utility bed and ran them up and down some of the desert roads of Arizona. We allowed the dust, dirt, mud, and other debris to hit the cases and then checked for any dust ingress. The secondary dust testing was to simulate more of the silty conditions that you might find in heavy deserts. This was done by placing the case in a lot of silt and sand, putting it in a contained environment, and hitting it with high-powered air from a compressor, at which point dust, debris, and other materials swirl around the case, impact the seals, and we checked once again for the ingress. The next test we did started to become a little more destructive and had potential for damage to the cases. So most of these will be used as a seat or as a step at some point in their lives as you place them around camp. So we wanted to make sure that they could endure repeated steps and drop testing. So the first thing we did was place it next to a trailer, step directly on the center of the case where there was the greatest chance for damage or deformation, and repeatedly stepped on the center to see if any kind of bending occurred. After that, we loaded these cases with sandbags for weight, put them on the tailgate of a Toyota Tacoma, and we pushed them off for a corner impact onto hard cement. This had the greatest chance of damage and would likely occur in a driveway or other condition. And we checked to see afterwards if the handle still functioned, if there was any leaks in the case, any cracks, or any noticeable damage that would prevent it from functioning in the future. The other test that we performed on these cases was the lashing test. So we wanted to determine if by tying down the case in any orientation or under immense load, if any of the lashing points would bend or potentially break with time. This is Front Runner's Wolfpack Pro. Like the original Wolfpack, it's legendary for durability and its affordability as well. But this has some key improvements over the original, including heavier duty handles and additional weather sealing. It comes in at just under $80 at $79.95. It weighs 8.1 pounds, which is fairly light, and it's right in the middle of our pack for its storage efficiency. So the Wolfpack Pro was definitely in the middle of the group for ease of use. The new handles are definitely an improvement over the standard Wolfpack, but under different elevation changes, temperatures, they can still become a little tight for one-handed operation, and sometimes you need to press on the middle of the case to help relieve pressure so that you can open the handle. We love that they're light and small enough to easily be moved around even when loaded. They stack easily, and they have a lot of great accessories. They are only available in one size, which is a little bit of a drawback, and they are not lockable. But we still think that overall it is a solid case and a really good performer. So when it came to the water and dust testing, we found that it was able to resist any kind of dust ingress in both of our tests. And it also resisted water in the secondary test where the box was located upright and in a standard orientation. When we exposed it to longer exposure to water in different angles and orientations, we did find that it leaked a little, but not significantly. During the strap down test, it also performed really well. We didn't see any kind of deformation, any signs of wear, And these included channels here make it very easy to strap it down securely without the case shifting around on your roof rack or your truck bed. Finally, we did the step and drop test. Nothing to note in the step test. It performed just as we had hoped. And in the drop test, it did as well, with very little sign of wear afterwards and continued smooth operation of all components. This is Dometic's Go 50-liter hard storage case. It retails for $150, weighs just under 10 pounds, and has pretty good space efficiency, once again, pretty close to the middle of the pack. So in terms of ease of use, this is definitely a nice, easy to use case, as you'd kind of expect from a Dometic product. The handles operate easily and you can do them one-handed. It is stackable, and the side handles have also been rounded to make it comfortable even when it's loaded, and doesn't cut or dig into your hands. Overall, this was one of the easier to use cases in the test. I do like that it has all kinds of options for interior storage that pairs with other Dometic products, and that it is lockable in these channels and has the ability to be strapped down in a fashion where the lid can still be opened when it's secured. Unfortunately, those same strap channels also interfere potentially with the locking channels, so it can become a little tight if you're using both at once. The other thing that we noted in our strap down test was that these handles can tend to bend under immense pressure, especially on side loads. Now, for water and dust testing, this case actually performed pretty well. We didn't find any dust ingress in either of the tests. And for water testing, it passed our normal test where the case was sprayed in an upright fashion. However, we did see some leaking when it was put on its side, and that actually came through one of the seams on the side of the box and not the lid itself. In our drop tests and stress testing, it performed really well. We saw no deformation in the lid when I stepped on it, and when dropped off, as you can see, it did sustain some damage. However, everything still functions normally, and neither of these latches opened under the load when it hit the ground. The Yeti really surprised us with how easy it was to use. The handles were some of the easiest to operate in the test, making it easy to open and close one-handed. It is stackable, and not only stackable with this cases the same size, but with different styles of cases. So you can have one case that takes up 75% and one that takes up 25%, and they will all nest together easily. It is lockable as well, with really stout channels for the locks so that they can't be easily bent or cut. And we really liked the handle design, as it's really comfortable on your hands when you're holding it and doesn't dig into your fingers even when heavily loaded. In terms of features, this has an abundance of options. Interior-wise, it has several different organizers, pocket organizers on the lid, and an interior organizer that can be lifted in and out easily, as well as dividers that can double as cutting boards. Performance-wise, this was also leading the pack. This case is actually fully submersible, which meant that for dust and waterproofing, there was no ingress under any conditions, no matter how hard we tried. During the strap down test, we found that these channels cut into the top work great for strapping and lashing. It was very secure, and rubber feet on the bottom prevent it from shifting around either on your rack or in your truck bed. In drop tests and pressure on stepping, we found that the case also performed really well. There was no deformation in the lid, and when we pushed it off loaded with sandbags, it did damage the corner, but everything still functions well. Handles still operate normally, and the seal is still intact. Pelican has a legendary name when it comes to developing storage cases. They're well known for all their camera equipment cases, hunting cases, and the like. But recently they've really branched off into producing these vehicle-mounted cases like the BX80. Now, this one retails for $319 and it weighs 19.3 pounds, which is the heaviest case in our test. It does have the additional structural durability associated with that, but it's certainly a drawback. The other drawback is that because of the thickness of the walls, it is our second least space efficient case in the test. So if you're really looking to maximize your weight and space efficiency, this probably isn't the best case for you, but it makes up for it in durability. The BX80 is really an easy to use case, but a straightforward no frills cargo case. So things that I like about it are the really durable handles, they're easy to operate, they're stout, and I feel like they'll last a lifetime. They're also lockable, which makes it nice to have the handles lockable and not just the case itself as a whole. It has tons of tie-down points and lashing points all over the case, located on every side, which makes it easy to secure it on your vehicle in any number of orientations. The lid also has a tie-down strap so that you can open it in camp, access all of your gear without having to set that aside. There are also channels carved into the side of the box itself, so if you do decide to run a strap over the channels instead of to a tie-down point, for example, you have the option to do that. Additionally, Pelican has also introduced a series of quick disconnect and connect latches that go with these boxes. They can be attached to your roof rack. These cases are also available in a number of sizes and shapes, so you can get the one that fits your needs best. Now, for water and dust proofing, this case performed among the top in our test. We had 0 ingress of dust in either of the tests, and during water testing, we only found that under direct pressure for an extended period of time in our initial test, we were able to get a little bit of water to come through. However, it's not a condition that we feel like you would normally encounter, and so overall, this case was a solid performer in the water and dust test. Strapping this case down, we found that vertical straps performed really well. It was solid with no deflection. However, on a side load from the sides of the cases, these riveted side mounts did have some bow from just the nature of the material they used to build the case. However, it's not enough that we would be concerned over the long-term use. Just normally, I would recommend vertical lashing of that section of the case. In the drop test, this was absolutely among the best. Fell off, nothing opened, and the damage to the case was hardly seen. So overall, very happy with the Pelican's performance. If you spent much time around the overland industry, you're probably familiar with ALUBOX by now. This is their 42 liter, which is one of the most popular sizes, and it retails for $355 and weighs just 10 pounds. So that makes it one of the lightest cases in the test, but it is also the most space efficient case that we have tested. In day-to-day use, the ALUBOX performed really well. The latches are easy to operate regardless of temperature and can be opened and closed one-handed. The side handles for carrying are really comfortable, they swivel up, and I really enjoyed that they put a third handle on the front so that you can carry it like a briefcase or carry it from both sides. It is stackable, and the hardware on the top of this is extremely secure when you have multiple boxes together, so they don't slide around or have potential for falling over. Construction on the box is also really good, but as you'll notice with most aluminum cases, they are prone to scratching or wear, so you can still see my boot print on the top, and you'll see other scratches over time. That being said, this box is the most space efficient box of the test. It's also one of the lightest. So if you're really looking for a case that maximizes both storage efficiency and weight, this is going to be a very good option. It is available with a number of accessories, so you can get tie-down kits for roof racks, you can get covers for the top to prevent said footprints, and you can get interior organizers. Now, all that being said, it didn't perform quite up to par when it came to water testing. So while it was dust resistant and we didn't have any ingress there, when exposed to the hose from the side, it did have water ingressing under the lid and across the seals. And this was in both of our water tests. It did perform better in the strap down test though, as well as the drop test. So no matter if we lashed it from the side handles or on the lid, there was no deformation or bending. And on the drop test, it had almost no damage to it, and everything still operates extremely well. Additionally, one main selling point for this box, if you do live in the north, is that it is certified as bear resistant. So you can bring this into campgrounds, have food and other things in it, leave it outside your vehicle, and it's going to be approved. This is a ZARGES case, and for many of you who know the overland space, ZARGES is another internationally used and well-loved brand. This specific case retails for $388, weighs in at 10.5 pounds, and is our second most space-efficient case of the test. It is extremely similar to the ALUBOX, and like the ALUBOX, is available in a whole range of sizes that will fit just about any need that you might have. It is also made of aluminum and shares some of the same characteristics as I mentioned in the other review, where you can see scratches, boot prints, other things over time, so just expect a little bit of wear on the case. It does also have these integrated points for stacking the boxes, which are extremely sturdy, and they're heavy duty to protect the corners in case of drops. Handle design is also extremely nice. There's handles on the sides and in the front, so you can carry it as a briefcase or in a normal capacity. And the latches on the front are easy to operate in any weather condition and include the integrated locks as well. Interior organization is available, as well as exterior tie downs, so you have a number of accessories that you can choose for this case. It is also bear certified, so if you're looking for a case that's lightweight, storage efficient, and able to stay on your vehicle even in northern areas, this is certainly a good option. Now, like the ALUBOX, this case also struggled in our water test. So spraying it with the hose from the sides and in different orientations, in both tests we found that there was some water ingress. Now, this was not a lot of water, but it still was not completely waterproof. In our strap down test, the case performed really well, however. So lashing from the sides and from the top, we found no deformation. We found no deformation in the lid when we stepped on it that maintained in the case. And in the drop test, hitting the sides, we found very little damage thanks to these hardened corners. Overall, very satisfied with the performance. If you've been on Instagram at all lately, you're probably familiar with Roam Adventure boxes. So these are showing up all over the market, and they have some really great features. This box is their 55-liter box. It retails for $249, and it weighs 15 pounds, which is definitely one of the heavier cases in the test. It is also the least space efficient in the test, coming in with a very thick sidewall and extra durability at the cost of some interior space. In day-to-day operation, I was very happy with the Roam case. The handles are extremely durable, and they're easy to open one-handed and close. They're also lockable, which makes it easy to seal the case up. When the lid opens, it has a gas strut that keeps it open even when you have the optional lid organizer on the top loaded down with all sorts of gear. Now, I also took off the soft carry handles that came on this case. They are nice to carry it, but we preferred the integrated handles that are built into the actual shape of the case itself. This makes it easy to tote it around without having the handles flop and get caught on things. The case also includes channels in the top, which can be used for strapping over the lid of the case, and integrated tie downs on the side so that you can strap the case down and still open and close the lid. This case is also flush with all kinds of accessories and options. So this has a bottle opener, as I mentioned, the lockable latches on the front, interior organizers, storage organizers inside. It is definitely one of the most optioned cases in the test. As I mentioned, however, this also comes at the cost of some space efficiency as they integrate all these in and account for that extra durability. Now, in the water test, we did find that it allowed a little bit of water in when laid on its side, mostly because it is able to pool on some of these different areas, but in a standard orientation, sitting upright, we didn't find that it leaked in any significant capacity. This also went for the dust test, where we didn't find that in either of our dust tests, any dust was able to make it through the seal. Strapping the case down, it performed really well. We didn't find any deformation even under higher tensioned loads, either side or vertical loads. And like I said, we really liked that you could put the straps through the case itself in order to strap it down while still opening the lid. In the drop test, it also performed extremely well. There was not significant damage to the case, only superficial damage, and everything still operates cleanly and easily without any issue. The most affordable option in our test is the Plano Sportsman's tote. This retails for just $39.99 and is also rated as weather resistant according to the website, and has a weight of just 10 pounds, making it one of the lighter cases in the test. Unfortunately, due to the design of the exterior handles and the placement there, as well as the lashing points, the exterior of the box is fairly big, giving it one of the least space efficient ratings of the cases in our test. Overall, in daily use, I found that the Plano Sportsman's tote is fairly easy to use. The handles and latches operate easily in pretty much any temperature, and it is stackable. It includes wheels on one end, so if you do load the case up and it gets very heavy, as a case of this size will, it is easy to move it back and forth to the house or your vehicle. It does include tie-down points and locking, but we did find that because of the flimsy nature of some of the plastic components and material, that we'd be concerned with longevity. So specifically, these lock points are not extremely thick. They could be broken. The handles are lightweight, and especially in cold temperatures, could be prone to bending or snapping or breaking. We also found that the wheels, although handy, can provide an additional point of damage and can become clogged with dirt. So that's something that you'll need to watch out for. In our strap test, we found that these lashing points are a bit flimsy and they're also a little bit awkward to deal with. They're intended so that you can run a strap around the top and strap them straight down, but if it's not perfectly upright, they can slide off and the points under pressure will bend inwards towards each other. Now, waterproofed and dustproof, it says water resistant on the site. We would say that's probably accurate. When we performed our water sealing test, it did allow water in both of our tests into the interior and quite a bit of it at that. So if you're looking for a box to keep your gear dry, probably not your best fit. Dust was a similar situation where we found ingress after our test. So this is a really good budget option. If it's under a lid in your truck bed, it might be okay, but just be aware of that. Now, in our drop test, this was the only case that failed. And that's because when it went off the side, it landed on a wheel and the actual structure of the box cracked, bending in and ruining one wheel, allowing your contents to get wet, dusty, and generally failing. This is the Expedition 134 box. They're one of the newest boxes on the market right now, and they're Australian made and manufactured, from materials to the actual production process. It comes in at $198 US. It weighs 8.7 pounds, which is certainly one of the lightest in the test, although space efficiency suffers a little bit because of the sloping design. And that's because they are designed to nest, so there's a trade-off. At home, they'll be able to nest and you'll take up less room. However, you'll have less room for gear on the road. In day-to-day use, the Expedition 134 box is a simple, straightforward cargo case. There's not a lot of features and options and flashy things to get attention, but it is a solid box overall. It has multiple tie-down points on every side, which are integrated into the structure of the box itself so that you can tie it down and still open the lid easily. It is also stackable with these channels carved into it, which means that if you do want to use the top to strap down instead of the sides, you can also do that and the box won't shift around. Now, the only problem that I found in the day-to-day use of this box is really operating these front handles. They do ease in over time and become easier to open and close, but especially when you first get the box or in really cold conditions, the seals are pretty rigid. And because of that, it can be extremely difficult to open and close the box, and you will need multiple hands sometimes just to open one latch. As I said, this is improving with time. However, on the initial inspection of the box, it was a very frustrating point. The seal is also extremely solid, which is a really good thing. So in our water and dust testing, we found that there was zero water or dust ingress no matter what conditions we subjected the box to. So if you're really looking for something that's just going to hold out the elements, this is a pretty darn good choice. When it came to strapping it down, as I mentioned, there are multiple options from the side points to the top, and there is no deflection in the case at all during our strap test. Same went for our drop test. We were very happy that when we dropped it down, none of the latches opened, there was no significant damage, just surface damage on the front, and the interior of the case was just fine. One final point that I like to make about this box in particular is that there is no metal hardware used at all. So if the case is going to be somewhere where it is often wet, especially if that could have salt water near the coast, this is a very good option because it won't rust or corrode with time and will continue to have years of smooth operation. And now we come to the end of the test where I get to announce editor's choice. And for this evaluation, I'm really pleased and a little bit surprised to announce that Yeti was actually my choice. And that's because there were so many legendary and amazing brands in this test. They all had great features, good performance, but the Yeti really won me over with how easy it is to use and how well thought out so many of the design features were. So for example, the latches, which are so easy to open and simply pull up with the case to open the lid. I also love the lid organizers, the zipper pockets that allow you to easily store small items inside that you need quick access to without having to dig through the entire cargo space. The same goes for the interior organization, with easy to lift out totes that still leave room underneath, as well as organizers and dividers that can also be used as cutting boards. Another feature that really won me over was the fact that you can have different size cases that still stack onto a single case and can be strapped down for a secure fit. This allows you to have, say, a medical kit in one, tools in another, and recovery gear in another case. This is just a really easy to use system, and I was very pleasantly surprised by it. There's plenty of points to lash these down from. The handles are definitely the most comfortable in the test, and they include soft handles as well, and carrying straps on many of the cases, which add a little bit of versatility depending on the layout and size that you want. The locks are all reinforced so that you have optimal security, and overall, the performance is just really hard to beat. The fact that you have a submersible case that's also this durable is awesome. The only downside to the Yeti, of course, is cost. It is one of the most expensive cases in the test, and it also has the Yeti name, which carries some recognition on it if you do plan to have it on the outside of your vehicle for extended periods of time. It also kind of, unfortunately, leads to the fact that it may attract a little bit of attention for that name brand, so there is a security risk with that as well. Overall though, love the performance of the Yeti. I'm very pleased with it, and I think it's well earned the editor's choice.